Welcome to a new episode of The Startup Show. Today we are here in a different surrounding together with Viktor, the CEO and founder of Coople. Welcome to The Startup Show.
Hi.
Welcome back to a new episode. This is a little bit of a special surrounding, so let's get started driving around here in Zurich. So I'll be focused a little bit more on driving and interviewing at the same time. So Viktor, as usual on The Startup Show, you get about a minute to 2 minutes to introduce yourself to my audience.
So, hi everybody. I'm here in Zurich and we are driving around. It's a different perspective for me too. So I'm coming out of an environment where I have been working in IT for a long time, mainly optimizing processes and doing a lot of good projects for others. And some time ago, I just realized I just want to change that and I want to become an entrepreneur on my own.
Yep.
And I started, well, not only one, different companies. At the same time, I try to live my life and explore different cities and travel a lot. So that's my background.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about maybe your past projects, maybe your main learnings from having your own company versus, working for big corporates.
Well, first of all, I've been working a lot as a consultant. So I've seen big corporates mainly from the outside coming into the company. And I really didn't like the politics in this environment and not being able to move quickly when things happen.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main drivers for me to move into an entrepreneurial world. So I started my first company, which was an event agency. I basically had no idea about events, but I felt this must be a lot of fun. So let's do that. It was a really challenging time, just getting to know the right people, building up the networks, and just as well learning what does it mean to have an own company. We had a good time there. We grew up the company. We sold the company last year. I have as well a spin-off out of this company, which is another company I own right now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get a little bit into Coople, your latest venture, I guess. Maybe you can tell my audience in a few minutes, like what exactly this startup is doing.
Well, Coople is a marketplace for flexible work, and we're the first ones doing that worldwide. So this is quite amazing thing out of Switzerland to be the first one in a specific sector. The main goal is to provide services, tools, and knowledge in order to allow companies and workers to live a flexibility. Mm-hmm. So for the companies, it's mainly about being more efficient, covering peaks or absences. So that's the main area where they bring in flexibility and flexible work. On the worker side, there are different reasons for this flexible approaches, and some of them are just basically their own choice, where they say, I want to live a flexible life, maybe as a student, maybe as a mother at home or a dad at home, where you want to just enjoy your life and beside that, just do some work.
Right.
But there are some other people as well that are interested in flexible work, maybe just people that don't find any other jobs.
Mm-hmm. I see that, many times when I interview startups, marketplace is one of these buzzwords everybody's using. So maybe you can explain a little bit how you to actually build a marketplace. It's usually what I hear. There's usually the demand on the supply side, and one side is harder. So which one is that in your case, and how do you solve the problem?
Yeah, maybe just to deconstruct a little bit the marketplace. So the marketplace in the first instance is a software piece, which is somehow allowing these two sides to communicate and to do some work, in our case, in a very efficient way. Mm-hmm. So there are different steps in this process in our case, which mean how do you enter this marketplace? How do you prepare to be ready to work or to be ready to offer jobs? That's one side, but then it goes down from the planning to the matching part to the work and then supporting the work on site. Mm-hmm. So that's one part, the marketplace itself or the software. On top of that, you need to have supply and demand. So that means you need to have workers that are ready to work in such an environment, which means they want to be flexible. So usually people registering with our system, they are not looking for permanent jobs. Mm-hmm. They're just really after flexibility. And on the other hand, you need to offer the jobs. The tricky part about that is that you need to balance that out. And if you compare that maybe to a book, it's an easy balance because it doesn't matter where the book order comes from. If it comes from Geneva or from New York, you have a book, you just ship the book to this location. In case of work, and most of the time on-site work, it's very much relevant, not only where you are, so the regional balance is important, but as well the skill set. So job profile, education level, your timings and so on. So it's not just something you take out of a shelf and you send. It's kind of dynamic on both sides, and that's the challenging part, definitely.
For sure. No, and I see it a lot of times. I mean, like I'm also like a student, so I see like the challenges people have, like when they send out their CVs, especially when I speak to my friends. One of the things that bothers me about the whole like HR process at the moment is the fact that like you have such a long process from the moment like you submit your application till you hear and get hired. So this is something really that I really like. What do you see the job type of application? How do you apply in the future? Do you think there will be a shift in the CV world or in the world of HR where you can say like, yeah, I see a certain trend that like also, fixed job or not temporary jobs will be only going, online?
Yeah, I think definitely online is way more effective, but at the end we are just talking about humans somehow interacting with each other. So I think technology can really help remove all the burdens of such interaction, no matter if it's for a permanent job or for a flexible job. Then if you go for a flexible job, it becomes even more painful. If you have to apply for something that just lasts half a day or a day, you don't want to just send CVs, do applications and whatever, you just want to get the job. So I think flexibility and the type of jobs we do, when we sometimes say just-in-time work, and just to define it in another way, are somehow kind of the peak or the last mile of the job market. And I think there is a lot of change happening, and one of them is the question of, do I need a CV at all in such an environment, or is it more about skill sets and having people just tell that I really own the skill set?
Right.
So if before I don't know, let's make an example in terms of I'm a chef. Well, I can say for myself that I'm a chef, but it depends on where I go and the requirements that this job gives. So if I'm in a 5-star hotel, maybe my skill set of a chef are not that good. But if I just need to do some fries somewhere out there in a takeaway, I'm perfectly fine. So there are different views on skills and what a job role could be. So going on, I think it's more about skills and somehow the market approving the skills you have in specific areas, and they saying, oh, he's an amazing sushi chef, and then over time you build up your reputation, and that's I think way more valuable than a CV.
Right. So I see that a lot, like with the skill set. Basically, it's also thanks to the internet and the technology these days that you can rate each other, and you understand exactly like where like a person is standing, even without like, let's say, a formal education. So that's very interesting. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the numbers of like how many matches, how many people you have on the platform at the moment.
Right now we have 130,000 people on the system, so about 5,000 to 6,000 new joining every month, which is good because we don't invest a lot in building up the pool, and that comes back to the point we were discussing before. Where do we have the bottleneck? I think it's more on the job side, in terms of flexibility and how this works. Flexible jobs are something that come out of an environment where people understand temporary as flexibility, and they sometimes just don't like the term and somehow just use temporary work in terms of saying these are not good workers, which is not the case. Flexibility and flexible workers, like we call them, is a choice, and I think that's where we are coming from.
One last question that I like to ask is about like the Swiss startup ecosystem. What's your perception of living and building your startup here in Zurich?
Well, I think the ecosystem has some really good parts and some parts that are just not working at all. If I just compare that, and I had some experience now, and I spent some time in London.
Yep.
So there is a direct comparison and stuff I can do. I think the ecosystem really wants to move in this direction, but the country in terms of adoption. So if you have a startup and you want to sell your product into the market, you can see a lot of companies that just wait and say, oh no, this is not yet ready, you just need to do your stuff and so on. So I think we are very innovative, but the market out there that should adopt it, it's not ready for innovation.
Yeah.
That's one part. The second part is that we sometimes see fight even internally with the government. So on one hand, they support startups, and on the other hand, they build up some taxing structures that punish the ones who get successful.
Yeah.
Or you have a nice, let's say, seed support, but then when it comes to raising money or to being bold and trying to conquer the world, then it comes down again to the Swiss mentality and say, okay, let's do maybe Zurich, and then we do Basel, and then Zug. It's not about, hey, let's change the world. It's like, we just like take it step by step, and we better sell early than too late. We never know. There are these big guys out there, and I think that's just a fear we have, and there is no reason for that. We have everything we need to be global players.
Yep.
But we are just scared of being it.
Scared of being it. That's interesting. So do you think there's like some kind of things that like you want to give like kind of advice to the Swiss and Zurich community, what we could do, like practically?
Well, I think we need to be bold. I think we need to go out and try to really be global players, because that's the market. And working in ICT or other environments, the market is definitely global, and that's the thinking we should have. And in this perspective, we should have as well investors that behave like global players, and that's where I can see a lot of scared and not risk takers out there. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so thank you very much. I appreciate that you came with me on this first carpool ride with the Mustard. Thank you very much for giving me that car for the time. Thank you very much for tuning in to this show, and I'll see you soon with a new episode. Have a great day.
Bye.